Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is public comment. Commissioner requests that the comments be limited to the number for 5 minutes per person. Please state your name and address. First one is Leanne Dunn.
We're good, okay. My name is Leanne Dunn, and I live at 2431 Sawmill Road. I just wanted some clarification on a conversation that I had with you, Mr. Mayor, about a month ago. I had asked you during the intermission, the land bank meeting and the commission meeting, why you wouldn't acknowledge what Commissioner Brown had put forward about selling the lots and a very fair compromise that I think he offered, which was selling the lots for very, very cheap, but keeping the specials until the last house that is currently paying specials is done paying specials. You had said that it would be too much work for one person to manage all those lots starting at different times in their assessments for 10 years or however long that goes. I will ask you again, like I did that night, are we really more concerned about how much, basically the well-being of one person and their job over hundreds of other people that this decision has now put in this position? And you came back and told me, but it's 900 lots. But as what I see is one person is already managing all of our homes, thousands of homes, with these assessments and keeping track of all of this stuff. So why is it more of an imposition to put that on one person than to put us in this position?
The city is not managing your special assessments, okay? And with this proposal, that clock would restart every time you sold a lot. So it would never end. That's why. We have to draw the line. It's time. We've done everything we can, Ms. Dunn. We've kept the lots cheap as we can, practically giving them away. We can't get anybody to buy them. I mean, we sold 23 lots in 4 years. We got to do something. You know, the city's paying thousands of dollars a year just to mow all these things. There's trees growing up all over the place. They're going to get into the sewer lines and really cost the city millions of dollars down the road. So, like it or not, we've got to do something further, okay? This isn't to single anybody out, and the cost of building a home now is much more expensive. Even in the last few years, materials costs have gone up significantly. I've talked to I have many builder friends who have told me just that. They couldn't build your house today for what you paid for it. It's just not going to happen. So the difference in cost between a house built today versus a house built a few years ago is not the same. So the difference in special assessment costs versus the price of a new home built right now, there's no significant change.
But those aren't special assessments. That's just
They're paying. It's money out the door one way or the other.
House that's not going towards any assessments. So, thanks.
Next person is Cynthia Flores.
Hi, good evening. Cynthia Flores. We live at 2713 Hackberry Drive. So my question is, on Fort Riley, we are under the understanding that there is a good partnership with Fort Riley and Junction City. So we're continued to told, hey, we're going to nurture that. We're going to continue to, develop that relationship as well as Manhattan and the surrounding communities. We have a large amount of Fort Riley civilians and a large amount of retirees and active duty that live here in Junction City and the surrounding communities. So my question to the council is, how is it justified if you are going to release these lots with no specials? We live in Junction City, so if you're releasing these lots with no specials, how is that fostering or nurturing that relationship with Fort Riley at this particular point if we're not going to assess any specials on these houses that you are soon to, or these lots rather, that you're soon to be releasing? If you have lower enlisted that live in Junction City now that could either possibly face foreclosure or could face, hey, I can't afford my house anymore. I now have to sell my house and go wherever it may be, or due to PCS now have to leave the community. And at this point can't afford to do anything with their house. So how is that how is that nurturing the relationship?
The city spent $100 to $130 million on developing all these lots in town.
Absolutely.
So we are all paying specials, not just the folks with a house on the west side of town. You, me, everybody, every property holder in town, every citizen here
Sure.
is paying on this. Okay, so we have nurtured that relationship quite significantly financially. So to say that we haven't done anything or we're trying to hurt it, it's simply not true. We have more lots, we have more supply than we know what to do with. We're trying to make these lots cheap, so we want more people to come live here from Fort Riley or wherever.
But do you think at this particular point, you will have people in the end of this that will either move because of PCS, they'll move because they're done with it, they're not going to deal with this anymore, my house is now not worth as much as somebody else's, and like you had said, it may not be able to build a house, what I have now purchased in 2009 may not be able to be built for the same price now, but again, truly, are we going to nurture the relationship to get people into Junction City? Because truly, if they know it, that, hey, if I purchase with no specials, I spoke to one particular person and she said, it's okay that I pay specials because we got the house at a cheap rate. But does she really realize in the end, by the time all these lots are sold, that truly your house may not be truly what you're worth, or you may end up owing more on your house than what you truly purchased it for? So right now it looks like it's a good deal, but in the long run it may not be a good deal. So I'm just kind of wondering how, was this talked about with Fort Riley, or did Fort Riley give any input on this at all? The leadership at Fort Riley, Garrison Commander and other people, did they give any input on this?
No.
No. Was it
This is a
solicited?
city commission decision. These are our lots.
Sure.
We're trying to do the best we can for this community.
Okay.
Believe me, we spend a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time, and we work constantly trying to get new businesses here. So spouses or people retiring from the Army
Right.
can continue to make Junction City their home. We
Right.
keep working on that. We foster that relationship every day. Okay, we really do. But, they're not going to come and ask us, how should we spend our budget this year?
Sure,
But
absolutely.
that's what you're asking them to do for us, and we're not going
Right.
to do that. They've got their entity and we've got ours, and we're good friends, and we try to work together as best we
Right.
can. But this idea that we're trying to hurt soldiers or hurt our relationship is just simply not true.
But have they expressed any concern with this?
None. No.
None. Has the council approached Fort Riley to say, hey, this is what we're doing? And certainly their business is theirs, your business is yours, but at this particular point, has anything been solicited from the upper command to say, hey, this could affect some young soldiers? Because certainly a foreclosure is very serious on your credit record, but an E4 may not realize that, whereas maybe an E7, E8 might be like, okay, hey, let me try and work some different things out. He might just be willing to walk away because there's no light at the end of the tunnel, whereas this other person over here, who has a little bit of knowledge behind him, a little bit older, a little bit wiser, may then be able to say, let's try and work a few different things out. We can try and do these things, whereas this guy may just walk away. So I guess, have we solicited how it may hurt some of their soldiers? And then certainly you're talking about security clearances and all that. Certainly if you go through that kind of a big deal, I don't know that really, at this point, it's not going to affect you. You could come up with all different kinds, and you're going to be sent to ACS for budgeting classes if you can't, quote, handle your money. But if you got into something that looked really good right now, all of a sudden 5 years down the road, this is kind of all how this could kind of, I guess, spiral out of control for somebody young, not realizing what they're getting into perhaps at this particular point. And then also, too, somebody that's just kind of like, okay, hey, this wasn't what I really bargained for back when we purchased it in '09. So, was any of that kind of taken into effect when the decision was made to say, hey, just sell them for whatever we can sell them for?
We took all that into account, and we made the best decision we could.
Okay.
We gave it several years. We started this back in 2015.
Sure.
And so now we're basically 4 calendar years almost later, and we had hardly any activity at all.
Okay.
And this idea that everybody's going to lose their shirt. I don't believe that. You have an assessed value for your home. Everybody does.
Sure.
And that's what you try to get.
Right.
Whether someone buys or doesn't buy a house, there's 1,000 different reasons for that.
Absolutely.
And has a soldier ever gone into foreclosure before we did any of this? Sure, it's happened many times. So to say that this is the sole cause of everyone going bankrupt from this point forward, I don't believe it.
Okay, all right. So I guess my final question would be, do you anticipate large amounts of builders coming in and building on Chisholm Trail $300-some thousand houses? I mean, is that what we're all forecasting, or is that what we're anticipating?
No.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be a lot. I think unless we get many more people to come here to town, either another brigade comes to Fort Riley or we get a lot more jobs coming here,
Right.
I don't think a whole lot's going to change. We're trying to stimulate a little bit at a time, so it's actually even a less of an impact on the existing homeowners.
Right. So then what happens if you don't sell these 900 to 1,000 lots? What happens then? What happens if we're at the same point next year? What happens?
We will cross that bridge when we come to it. I mean, we're just trying one thing at a time.
Okay.
You know, you don't go from, let's sell the houses for 25 grand each with all the specials to, let's just give them away.
Okay,
We're trying to stagger that, because we want to keep money coming in too.
sure.
I mean, even for $5,000 a lot, we're paying the listing agent $1,000 to market the lots, so we're keeping forward. And so instead of us just giving away for nothing, we're still trying to make a couple bucks on it because we're still having to maintain them.
Right, okay.
So this isn't done willy-nilly. Believe me, we've trying to work through this over time.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Carried 5-0. Next item is a public hearing for the Kansas Department of Commerce Community Development Block Grant application for community facilities.
Mayor Landis and Commissioners, as you know, we had a hearing last time, but since the last meeting, some things have changed. One thing we did this year, as you know, we hired, last year, the grant we put in, Deb Oldie wrote the grant. This year, she didn't want to do it all, so we've had Northwest Kansas Planning Development Commission, and Deb is writing the narrative and all those things, and they do things a little bit differently. Well, one thing we noticed when the initial grant we talked about last week, a project of $853,000, included sidewalk. After some discussion with Kansas Department of Commerce, you cannot put sidewalk in a street project. So Deb and I sat down and we massaged it a little bit. We're taking the project down to an $814,855 project. We're going to ask for $425,000 from CDBG, or approximately 52%. The remaining share, ours, will drop to $389,855. When the project is complete, we will then bid out or build the sidewalks. We talk about forced labor, there's a lot of issues, but just the simplest way, probably, and the best chance of getting the grant, is to separate them out. Project's done, we build the sidewalks with the $43,000. So our total dollars that the city will spend from last time is remained unchanged. We are going to a 52% rather than a 50-50, 52% being CBG. But Deb and I both feel comfortable that's a good number as we go into grant points. So basically, the hearing tonight is to basically about the project and if the city should move forward. If any comments about the city moving forward with that Spring Valley Road project. But we had to redo it just because the numbers changed a little bit.
So at this time, we will open the public hearing. Is there any public comment on this project? Going once, going twice? We will close the public hearing. Next item are special presentations. Your fancy minutes. First proclamation is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Whereas each year, approximately 1 in 4 pregnancies in the United States ends in miscarriage, stillbirth, or death of a newborn child. And whereas infant mortality is viewed as a sentinel event that serves as a measure of the community's general health status as well as its social and economic well-being. And whereas Junction City and Geary County have made great strides in improving the infant mortality rate, reducing it to 5.7 deaths per 1,000 live births, below the state and national averages. And whereas, despite improvement, disparities between population groups continue to exist locally, statewide, and nationally. Whereas hundreds of Junction City residents are affected by these tragedies. And whereas this month offers us the opportunity to increase our understanding of the great tragedy involved in the deaths of unborn and newborn babies, and to contribute local efforts driving improvement in health outcomes for Junction City, Geary County mothers, babies, families, and communities. Now therefore, I, Pat Landis, of the City of Junction City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2018 as National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and call on all people of Junction City to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies in support of those who have experienced loss and in order to improve Junction City maternal child health outcomes. Thank you, Jill.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
all you do. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much for allowing us and recognizing this important month for delivering change, but also for our Geary County Fetal Infant Mortality Review Program. We have made great strides and great improvements in our community, but there's still work to be done. And so I assure you that we will continue to do so. So thank you very much.
Her team has done an outstanding job. Things have totally changed since they started this program, and she's a big leader behind it, so we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chief? Next proclamation is National Fire Prevention Month, and it's a long one, so we're going to be here a while. Whereas the City of Junction City is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Junction City, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires killed 2,735 people in the United States in 2016, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 352,000 home fires. And whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occur at home each year, and whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reporting to the United States Fire Departments was 10% higher in 2016 than in 1980, and whereas Junction City residents should identify places in their homes where fires can start and eliminate those hazards, and whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and whereas Junction City residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside separate sleeping areas, and on every level of their home. And whereas Junction City residents should listen to the sound of smoke alarms when it sounds and respond by going outside immediately to the designated meeting place. Whereas Junction City residents who have planned and practiced home fire escape plans are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. Whereas Junction City first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Junction City residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2018 Fire Prevention Month theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Therefore, I, Pat Landis, Mayor of the City of Junction City, do hereby proclaim October 2018 as Fire Prevention Month throughout the city and urge all people of Junction City to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support the many fire or public safety activities and efforts by the Junction City Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Month. Chief, thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Let's say a few words.
I think enough has been said.
I think they're just clapping for me finishing.
The biggest thing is smoke alarms. Make sure you have smoke alarms in your home. Make sure they're not older than 10 years. And if they are older than 10 years old, replace them. So, but we are doing a lot of prevention activities this month. You'll see us all over the city, in the schools, and other areas. But if anything we can do to help make the city safe, we will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, our next item is a presentation by Joe and Sheila Markley from the Opera House.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me this evening. Hopefully you have this paper in front of you, but the Opera House is seeking permission from the Junction City Commission to replace the bell movement, or the clock movement, and also reinstall the capability to ring the bell. All costs, including the equipment and installation, would be paid for by J.C. Opera House, Inc., and we have budgeted approximately $25,000 for this project, and we have those funds in hand. The installation will be carried out by David Say, who has maintained the present clock for many years, and he does work throughout the country, and he's an expert in this field, and we are hoping that this would be completed this fall. My wife wanted me to say that according to David Say, we are one of 2 places in the state of Kansas that have a clock tower and a bell tower, the other one being Ottawa. So, and David would know because he works on all of them all over the state and the country. Just wondered if you had any questions or concerns.
I think this is a tremendous project and look forward to it taking place and being another jewel in our community. So we thank you for your efforts.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
sir.
Next item is consideration of the Brownsfield Assessment Coalition Memorandum of Agreement between the Flint Hills Regional Council, Riley County, Geary County, Lyon County, Morris County, and City of Manhattan, as well as the City of Junction City.
This is Jana Williams from Flint Hills Regional Council. You want to just
Stand.
run with it and go? Y'all get a copy of it. This is the grant that we cooperated on last spring and made up and gave support of for the brownfields. Comments?
First of all, I just want to thank you for being a member of the Regional Council and hopefully participating in this assessment grant. Just a recap of the grant, it's a $600,000 3-year grant with no match requirement beginning October 1st. The consultant is Stantec, who completed the JLUS study. You provided a letter of support for the grant along with the regional coalition that will include Geary, Morris, Lyon, and Riley counties and the City of Manhattan. The work plan has been approved by the EPA. Junction City will identify and assess all of the sites within Junction City. And from this grant, Stantec will conduct a brownfield inventory of sites, a phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessments, asbestos, lead paint, and hazardous materials survey at 6 sites, 2 brownfield area-wide reuse plans, 6 remedial action plans, and public outreach and meetings. This MOA does not commit any funding from Junction City, but there will be some staff time, I believe, by your planner, who will be the coalition representative.
Yeah, we decided with the county, instead of each having a representative, we would use Layla from the county since she is basically a joint employee to represent us, and of course, it fits planning real well.
So the survey expected to be completed by 2021.
3 years.
So
A lot to do.
if you find things there, is the city bound to have to fix those right away, or then we make an application for EPA funding, or how does that work if we find something?
I don't believe you're bound to do it. It's voluntary.
It's private property.
Okay.
And so we'll work with other grant funds to get money available. It's to identify them, and I mean, and we want to clean up our community. This is going to be similar to, a little different, but from the fuel tank programs.
Right.
We get involved with the fuel tank programs. They do drilling on city right away. And that person that owned that fuel tank paid that deductible of 2,500 to 3,000, give me the exact amount, and it's all taken care of to clean the environment. You know, our responsibility is basically just to work with them to provide, you know, cooperation so we can go ahead and have a safer environment.
On your agenda memo has it at 60,000.
If somebody, I
There's
lost
a
a zero.
6 and then a 60,000.
I
I'm not
lost
sure
a
which one to go
zero.
with.
It fell off.
Yeah, I'll second it too.
Zero fell off.
It fell off as I sent it over to Tammy's office.
So we need to make a
I didn't know
motion
if
to
that-
approve this memo, or?
No, you approved the agreement says 600,000. So you're going to approve the memorandum of agreement that the mayor signed, and that does say 600,000 in it. It's correct.
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement for the mayor to sign.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration to terminate the Flint Hills Regional Administrative Interlocal Agreement.
Mayor, Landis, and Commissioners, we actually did this last spring.
Right.
When it was sent to Attorney General, the Attorney General required another approval process to go through. So this is simply a repeat to some extent, but in the form that the AG wants. And it doesn't affect anything in the community, as we discussed back last spring.
Are there any questions?
Make a motion, we approve the termination agreement.
I'll second.
There you go.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Man.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Great enthusiasm. Next item is consideration of the proposed event dates of July 3rd through the 7th, 2019 for the Sundown Salute in Heritage Park.
We'll just turn it to Michelle.
Oh, Michelle.
Hey.
Mayor Pat Landis, City Commissioners, and City staff, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As part of the Sundown Salute Committee, I'm here tonight requesting the exclusive use of Heritage Park from July 3rd to July 7th for Sundown Salute. July 3rd is Wednesday, with July 7th being on Sunday. July 7th, we will be, the Ministerial Alliance will have their services that morning and then have a concert that evening. I would ask to include a noise waiver for the dates listed with this request. We will be submitting a request to close streets once we know which ones need to be closed at this time, so.
Is the 3rd the setup day and everything for the carnival?
They will be open on the 3rd.
So they'll come in,
Usually they come in a day and a half, a day before and start.
We'll probably be talking Monday. We're going to be closed, I mean, but, you know, as the streets are going to be closed from Monday to Monday.
It's a week, so
Yeah,
Yes, but it's shorter for,
no matter how you look at it,
Salute.
it's a week.
yes.
it's a great event.
So are we all good with this?
Yes, sir. Make a motion to approve the request from Sundown Salute Committee for the 2019 event in the Heritage Park and surrounding area.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Carries 5-0.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you're doing.
Okay,
I'll just stay for the next
I
one.
might as well
Yep.
stay up here.
Next item is consideration request for the Geary County Convention and Visitors Bureau for the consumption of alcoholic beverages and cereal malt beverages at Spin City on October 23rd.
Yes, this is the first time the Travel Association of Kansas Annual Conference is being held in Junction City. We were grateful that we were awarded this event a couple years ago. The TIAC conference will bring representatives of CVB's Chamber of Commerce, attractions, and state agencies to Junction City and Geary County. The dates for the conference is October 22nd through 24th. This is the first time, of course, we are hosting that conference in our community. On October 23rd, attendees will go to Spin City for disco night and dress up. I won't get into the details of the night, but let's just say they'll be doing Saturday Night Fever on Tuesday night at the skating rink. This will be a closed event for local catering, providing food and drinks. I'm in front of you to request the caterer will be allowed to sell and serve beer and alcoholic drinks at Spin City. The caterer is Coaches. They have a Kansas alcoholic beverage control license that allows them to sell and serve on site. I'm asking your approval for alcohol to be sold and served on October 23rd at Spin City from 5:30 to 10 p.m.
Do we have enough adult staffing?
Well, Maryland, first of all, G 1223 ordinance that was passed last spring, there's certain buildings in the city that allows the city commission on a case-by-case basis to allow this. It'll work staff out, and it won't be a big issue. I mean, even though there'd be probably more dancing than skating. Hopefully.
Yes.
I plan to
Hope you
attend,
all are
and
here.
And I will skate.
I'm dancing.
Good.
We're skating.
And just to let you know, what we thought about the setup too might help things. We went down there and sort of looked over the facility to see where we could actually put food in our area. We thought about putting that in the cafe area, so therefore if younger adults are working down there that should not be around the alcohol, then they will not be in that room. So we're making every effort to make it right. You know, we would like to really promote Spin City because it is very unique, and we think it's a great opportunity with 200 and some people coming to our community to let them see what we have. So,
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate you taking the initiative to use one of our city facilities for it.
Sure.
I don't want any kids working there at all that night. So let's just make sure
Yeah,
that happens now. I mean, it's not just in that area or whatever. I mean, I don't want them there, period.
Yeah.
Not to be a wet blanket, but personal liability, somebody gets hurt, is that the city's responsibility or individuals, or how's that work?
It's like any other, it's the same liability we have every day the skating rink's
Because
open.
people our age don't bounce as well.
well, and I
When I
understand
go,
there's,
when I go there on a Saturday with,
Thought,
when I go there on a Saturday with my grandkids and don't bounce as well, it's still my
Sign a waiver
fault.
when you walk in,
but they do have walkers with rollers
We're
on
fine.
it
I
so you
mean,
can
okay.
skate.
water wings or something, or,
You could,
Okay.
you can rent a little,
Yes, you
Walker.
can.
walkers? Okay,
Yes.
that's good.
if Alan
We
Dinkel
checked that
can
out when
skate-
we were down there.
Okay.
It's no more different liability than we have any other night. We're open
I
there.
have to ask.
Yeah, I'm agreed.
Move to approve Gary County Convention and Visitors Bureau request for the consumption of alcoholic liquor and cereal malt beverages at Spin City on October 23rd, 2018.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Michelle.
Give me a show.
Next item is consideration of resolution 2866, certifying legal authority to apply for the 2018 Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Mayor, Landers, and Commissioners, this is kind of a repeat from last time, but since we made a change in the amounts, basically, we're asking for $425,000, and we're going to commit $389,855.
I think this is a much-needed project, and anything that helps our project stand out so it's more likely to get selected, I think it's a good thing.
Deb is, I mean, she's a rock star. I mean, she did great last year, but we're now in the process of doing the narrative, and she sent for a staff to look at, and then Chad's done looking at all the stuff, and she dots every I and crosses every T, and just tries to get as many points we possibly can get. We're
Questions,
guaranteed,
comments?
but it's good.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution 2866.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is consideration of Resolution 2867, assuring the Kansas Department of Commerce that funds will be provided for the operation and improvements to the street system.
Same as last time, except, one, we have to assure that if they build the project, we're going to take care of it. So you have to allot funds. Maybe a little difference between Deb and Northwest. Northwest just put our total street budget. Deb says, no, whatever it costs to maintain that piece, put $2,500 in there. So that we are committing that we know that's going to cost $2,500 a year to maintain the street. And that was a more business than with Deb. Thought again, that was maybe a little between Deb and Justine from Northwest, but that's what we did last year. We put like $1,000 in last year that we know that we're putting something up and we're committing funds to maintain it.
Questions?
Nope.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution 2867.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Next item is consideration of the agreement for professional survey and engineering services for the Ash Street and the Spring Valley Road intersection.
Mayor Landis, Commissioners, one thing again in the CDBG applications, they want you to be, in essence, don't want to borrow a term from former president administration, but shovel ready. In other words, that we can, if we get awarded the grant in January and have meetings in February, that we can start on the project. And, realistically on a street project, it's going to be late fall if we get it going early next year just because of some of the time. But, we already have basically 60% of design, a lot of it done already. But we have to have an engineer contracted already, that we don't have to go hunt for an engineer. And what we do on the grant, just let me explain this to you. I said that we're 48% and CDBG is going to be 52%. In our 48%, we shove the cost of the engineer and also of the grant administrator on our side. That way we can pick it the way we pick our consultants. We don't have to use a CDBG. So and what you do is then the cost of the project itself, more goes over there. It's kind of a way to do it. Everybody does it that way, and it's a good way to do. So this means that we have a contract, and as you notice, there was in the second paragraph, I believe, this contract is contingent upon that we get the grant. If not, and we had to pull it separate away from our regular contract we have at Call Valley, just a grant requirement.
Sure. Questions?
Nope. I make a motion that we approve this agreement.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consideration for the agreement of the administrative consulting services of community development block grants.
Mayor Landis, Commissioners, just kind of ditto everything I just said a second ago, but on the grant administration, we have a contract in place contingent upon the grant. And Northwest is administrating our grant this year.
Questions?
I make a motion to approve the agreement for administrative consulting service of community development block grants.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consideration of ordinance G 1229 concerning work permits, sidewalks, and penalties. Mr. Stites.
Commission, I was asked to address these particular ordinances on behalf of Building and Codes. One of the issues they noticed is that they were charging something different than the ordinance. We want to make sure practice meets the law. So if you look on the website, that's what it says, 100, so the ordinance needs to read that. That's one aspect I noted. Also, another part is want to make sure, even though it's in part of the Building and Codes ordinances, want to make it explicitly clear that since citizens have to maintain their own sidewalks per ordinance, that's their obligation there, that if they seek a permit to only fix their sidewalk areas, they don't need to pay for a permit on that. That way we can encourage them to do that. The other aspect, though, is to make sure people are getting permits. That way building codes know who to inspect, make sure everything's meeting the engineering and building codes and standards that we have in place. And we just want to make sure there's some bite there in terms of having a fee that can be assessed in case people do work without. That way people are aware. And then in addition, we just changed the penalty. The penalty before, or the status quo, is between $10 to $100. But since it has also a possibility of 30-day jail time on there, it seems the same as a Class C misdemeanor. So my proposal would be to the commission is that we just make it read similar to a Class C misdemeanor, which is no more than a $500 fine and or up to 30 days in jail. I don't want to prosecute anybody for a permit on a driveway or a sidewalk. We just want to be able to have it there. Kind of what we use sometimes is that encouragement is this path that we can take. We don't want to take it, but the avenue's there in case we need to. One of the issues we see there is just contractors who prefer to ask for forgiveness rather than permission, and they're already working on non-inspected work, and that's kind of an issue there. Any questions from the commission?
I have just to clarify what you're saying, make sure I heard correctly. So if I, citizen, need to fix my sidewalk, I need to go get a permit.
Yes.
Yes, and the reason for that is to make sure that building and codes can go out there and inspect it and make sure it's to whatever engineering standards that we do have for people. Just that way, things are compliant, that way the sidewalk's safe, that way however you're mixing it's right. We just want it to be safe, maintained, not have it crumbling within 3 months of being made.
Any further questions?
This is exactly what we've talked about in the past, about putting a little more bite to the contractors who decide to just go ahead.
I make a motion to approve ordinance G 1229.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor Landis?
Yes.
Commissioner Albritton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next item is consideration of ordinance 1230, amending intimidation of a witness or victim.
Commissioners, just in reviewing this year, I finally got the chance to sit back and propose a modification. It hasn't been modified for a while, and what kind of highlighted it was after that murder trial in January, one of the witnesses in that was assaulted by somebody saying that it was his cousin or whatnot that was the defendant in that case, and went over and conducted a battery against him. And the reason being was for his testimony. And so that came to the city, being a misdemeanor, intimidation of witness, came to the city, so we prosecuted it. But one of the issues we did have is that didn't really fit the ordinance that we have. And so the key language that was missing was the orderly administration of justice. So I had to reach out and charge him saying, well, in case there's a retrial, in case there's a sentencing that he has to testify at, that would be kind of what I had to reach for, which wasn't fully in what the ordinance that we have currently. But the orderly administration of justice can be applied to not only the effect on that witness, but also the effect on future witnesses in cases. That way they think that nothing can be done for them. But we want them to say that we will reach out and try to protect witnesses and seek justice for them, and the people should not have retribution for being a witness in a matter. And then there was also language regarding I added some language in there of people that try to reach out to DCF or DADS, formerly known as SRS. Just that way we have the language in there, that way we don't have a missing gap there in the law, that way we can prosecute who we need to. I don't want to prosecute anybody if I don't have to, but that's one of my duties, so if we need to, I want the law to be correct and it matches the state statute if the commission adopts it.
Questions?
Nope. I make a motion to approve ordinance number G-1230.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor Landis?
Yes.
Commissioner Albritton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item is discussion of the interlocal agreement regarding Rayford Stadium.
Mayor and Commissioners, this goes back to discussion, of course, on Rayford Stadium beginning this summer. And Ed's not here. Ed had jury, was called a jury duty in Topeka today, but he didn't work today. So I'll carry the ball for him as well. But basically, this goes back to the, we decided to rework the infield, do it this fall. Of course, there's a concern in the community about making Rayford more playable on more days of the year. So a push to make artificial turf, or I just call it turf, on the infield and down the foul lines and perhaps the warning track. Of course, the cost is in that $400,000 to $450,000 range. Ed and others have met, and Ed and Cecil Aska and others took tours, ball fields in Kansas City, Topeka area, the artificial turf, and at the same time, we keep the outfield natural grass. Anyhow, worry about the cost. County Councilor OPAP put this agreement together in that the county would be giving some money to the city. And one of the concerns always was if they give money, who's responsible for the field? Well, in this agreement here, if the county does give money, the responsibility of the field, the maintenance of the field, the control of the field will still remain in the city as it is today. One of the concerns, and we're going to have some more meetings this week, so I'm not sure if we're ready to vote tonight, I may just toss it out or take a look at what we have here, is this agreement also has that the county can supply funds down the road for maintenance or possibly future replacement. One of the concerns I have, of course, is that basically everybody's saying that every 10 to 12 years you got to replace the field. at probably a cost of 50%. Well, throw a little inflation factor in there. We got a plan for a replacement in 10 to 12 years, and I would guess $300,000. So how do you get there on that? Do you plan for it and that? And this agreement would allow this. There's no dollars amount. It is kind of vague in that, but there's no dollar amounts, but it could allow for that to happen. I am meeting with County Commissioner Bennett, I believe Steve Opad, and member of the school, Mr. Westerhouse, athletic director, and about this later this week about financing. One of the concerns, of course, we have is how we're going to come up with $450,000. You know, we've heard the 200,000 numbers mentioned from the county, perhaps a private donation, but what else is different, and how do we accomplish that? Or do we do a lease purchase process? And that's very possible. One of our downsides is if you want this to happen by next March, we got to rock early November at latest, because you're going to tear all the outfield out and get your drainage right, get your slopes right, and then go ahead and sod that. You know, everybody has said if you sod by mid-November, you're probably going to be all right. I don't have any disagreement. I sodded my yard in mid-December, and you could have played ball March 1 if you had to. So I think that's possible, very doable. But we got to act pretty soon. So the big deal is still going to become money, and how do we get there, and what the city commit. You know, we were going to commit $45,000 to the field, so I think that's available. If you try to push into future years, and one of the concerns, you know, I think we have to watch from a budget standpoint is, you know, we budget for some improvements to other ball fields next year. You know, do you abort those and just put it in Ray Third, or do you keep all the projects and do that? And that's going to be a commission decision. I mean, you know, just because we budget that money doesn't mean it has to go in those fields. You have those options, and I'm not going to, I'll just tell you have those options, and it's up for you to decide then. But, you know, the key issue is going to be if any issues with this agreement, we can address them now. In the next couple of weeks, like I said, I'll be meeting with the group on later this week. I think Thursday we're going to try to meet, and then get some pricing. Ed and the others have met with 2 different companies. The problem with turf is the fact that it's really hard to spec. You're going to have to do an RFP and kind of get a proposal and look at them, because some believe you do it like this and some believe like this. Some believe that you fill it with, one company fills it with this little black rubberized thing. One uses a mixture of that and pea gravel. They both think it's wonderful, and it probably is, you know. So it now gone to choice and maintenance and those things. The school district has pretty well offered, Mr. Westhouse, that they would help us maintain it as far as equipment's concerned. That we
Like what
don't.
equipment?
You have to, and again, I wish Ed was here. You got to
There's like a sweeper thing.
sweep the grass
They use
every so
in
often.
the football
That's
field.
what they're
Field.
referring to, so
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
equipment?
So they've got the experience and the knowledge how to do that.
They got the
then.
experience and the knowledge and the equipment, and that makes great sense because they use our field all the time anyhow, so it makes great sense, and it's a great partnership. And this kind of puts it all together here if we can. Again, the big question is going to be dollars, and I don't have those yet. But we'll have to be working towards those because D-Day is coming if you want to do it by next spring. Going to wait a year, that's another option, of course.
Well, one of the big reasons to do this is to try to catch more tournaments.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, that's tourism dollars. And unless there's a yearly commitment from the transient guest tax, I'm not sure I want to go forward with anything unless we have that commitment.
Okay.
And the other thing I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, I mean, sorry, I'll shut up in a minute. But I think we need to honor our commitments to those other ball fields here in
Absolutely.
Thank you,
town.
I'm sorry, I was gonna.
That needs to be done no matter what. I mean, I think the roof structure on the Heritage Park and weight, we haven't had it forever. You know, if we had to give anything, I'd give on that because we set aside 50 grand for that. And I think,
I thought we pulled that out.
How much is that?
Yeah, we pulled.
well,
that
50
out.
was a guesstimate anyway. We didn't even know anything.
We
anyway,
have
so.
room for it. I mean,
Yeah.
we had some, we can take care of those other fields. I mean, yeah. And-
There aren't hard numbers,
Yeah.
except for the ball fields.
And those are
fields.
real, and those ain't really hard either. They're good estimates.
Anyway, I don't think we need to decide anything tonight.
No, we don't. I just want to fill you up with a date on it. And like I said, if you want to ask for a commitment, I mean, I can request that of the county. That would like some commitment for down the road. And
Yeah,
that-
because I just, I don't want this to fall in our lap. 10 years is up, well, it's time for a new field, city.
Steve did it quick and dirty, and I have no problem with what he did. I mean, he got started here, so.
The other thing that I'd mention is if we're not going to move forward with the turf idea this year, we still need to do something to Raythert this year like we had planned because that infield is in shambles. So something still needs to be done with Raythert before the March timeframe, so.
Next meeting is when we have to make a lot of decisions,
Okay,
because November 1 is November 1, you know.
right. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of companies that are chomping at the bit to get some work through the wintertime anyway, so, or late fall.
You know, the artificial part's not the problem. It's going to be the grass
Yep.
problem. You know, we met with one of the companies, I can't remember the name, Marvin Diener, who used to coach Slice Central and now sells for him. You know, they've done some successful turf projects in December, January, if you can work the ground. Of course, only weather, I don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Any further questions or comments?
I just want to add, I'm really interested in a commitment from the county on this.
Well, it sounds here, in the thing, it says the county further agrees to consider additional contribution in its discretion as auzed in Resolution 4 as long as the purpose of the agreement are being fulfilled.
It's just not firm, though.
Right,
That's what
at
bothers
their
me.
discretion.
I'll request that.
If we delay this any further, is it going to hurt the chances of getting this project done now?
We got to get started, either if we redo the infield or go with the turf infield, and replace the outfield with new grass. We got to hit that November 1, November 15th.
Should have something by next meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Next meeting
A
should be
meeting
plenty,
this,
We can,
you know,
if we're going to do something, we'll get it done then, one way or the other.
right, right.
plenty of time.
It's been a flying target. I mean, and Ed and others in Cecil, I know, been on the road looking at different fields. You know, and then we've had two presentations I've sat in on. They're cool stuff. I mean, you know, they have different ideas though, and they're both successful companies.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Mr. Underhill?
Chamber Board met last week and did our public signing of the new master agreement, so I think everybody's excited that that is in place and we can continue moving forward. I think that's it for this month. The MPO didn't meet in September, so we'll have more in October, our next meeting.
Very good. Mr. Albritton?
Don't have too much. Animal shelter will meet next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. Only other thing I was going to add was for Junction City, I'll tag on to what Fire Chief had to say about your smoke detectors. When him saying that just made me think about my own smoke detector. So I said, you know, that's a really important thing. So people just make sure those things do work because it's a thing that we kind of forget until we really need it. So another thing, I'm just excited about the groundbreaking for the high school on Friday. So I'll be in attendance at that. So that's going to be an exciting event. So
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
I won't be able to be there Friday, I've got to work.
Work?
Yeah. I know I'm supposed to be retired, I know that. Foster children have to
Oh, I hear you.
take care of.
You're a good man.
So, not really much out of the Flint Hills Regional Council meeting this past couple weeks ago at the Wamego. Only real important thing that the Flint Hills Regional Council Conference is going to be May 1st at the Marriott Convention Center, so that'll be a good thing that we're bringing to the city. I don't think really much else came out of that. I really want to see us move forward with this baseball field initiative. I think that's very important, and I hope we can get this firmed up by the next meeting, that we can get this approved and get it done, because I think that's important to the whole community, start getting those tourist dollars coming in. I know Michelle wants that, and I know a lot of people want that. So I hope we can get something worked out where we can get this done. I think it's a very worthwhile project, and I do want to, as the other commissioner stated, I do want that other money to stay on those other ball fields.
Yep.
That's a quality of life issue, and we can't let that go.
Yep.
I don't have anything else, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Just a couple of things. So today, myself and Commissioner Brown and a bunch of other folks started helping with the playground, Fifth Street Park equipment build for the playground equipment. So that was a very worthwhile afternoon working on building, and it definitely takes a few people to put those things together. So all in
Were
all,
you playing or working?
we're really working. Really working. You would think 5 pieces for a slide would go together very easily, but they really don't. It takes a lot of, yeah, anyways.
And
So,
you having to read the instructions as you're going along to put it together, so it was.
well, we really had it was a great turnout of volunteers to help on that. And there's many other days, so anyone interested can reach out to Kendall Schoenrock to get some time on that. This past Sunday, some of the local churches did a community cleanup, and Ray may talk a little bit more. Well, it would have been Ed, but Ed's not here. But they had a whole lot of projects that they worked with Ed Lazier to work on in the community, and they also got to work with me a little bit. We usually get the families with the children, and we did a little bit more cleanup out on Chestnut and flower beds and stuff like that. So that was a very good cleanup day. And the day before that, on Saturday, still have our annual or our weekly cleanups. And honestly, we do get a lot of people that come out to help that like to volunteer, and they feel just as proud and happy of this community as we all do. So we are very grateful for all of our volunteers. And they're not just from Junction City, they're from Fort Riley, Manhattan, and other areas. So they want to come out and be a part of the community. So we appreciate that. This Saturday, I don't know if Chief Breesy was going to mention or not, but I'll go ahead and mention it, is Touch a Truck. It'll be on East Chestnut Street, so there'll be all those fun trucks and stuff out there to touch in the parking lot. I think it's that parking lot of Gordman's and
Yeah,
the Old Goodies parking lot, and that's like 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the last thing I'll mention is our next Military Affairs Council meeting is on the 11th of October at 4 p.m. at the Chamber. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. A terrific member of our community passed away this past week, Mr. Albert Curley. He was one of the Buffalo Soldiers, and he was a very fine gentleman. I got to know him once I got into office, and a finer person you'll never know. I mean, he's really a great guy, and he will certainly be missed. The groundbreaking for the Junction City High School is this Friday at 2:30 p.m. on site, west side of town. Commissioner Underhill, Vice Mayor, myself, and Mr. Dink will be going to the Association of the United States Army Convention this Sunday through next Wednesday. Try to continue to draw support for Fort Riley and all they do, and hopefully bring some things back for our community as well. I think that's about all I have. Mr. Nickel?
Oh, you
I already did him first.
I was first.
That's right, you were. Same much.
Short and sweet.
having a senior moment over there?
No, you had the same one. Okay, thank you, Mayor Landis. As of today, officially, it's been recorded, as of yesterday, but officially recorded today, Land Bank owns all of Mann's Ranch and any of the choice properties that were remaining. So I've contacted Mr. Custer already, and I know he already had some people wanted to buy lots in Mann's Ranch just because of the location and the shape of lots and everything else. I think the thing to remember, and I didn't want to make any comments tonight on the land bank, is at some point in time, the commission can revisit the land bank, can monitor how things are, and the way we're moving forward now can always be changed, can be monitored as you go. So just say that there's a lot of leeway in the law on special assessments when they come out of land bank. So it's just something we will monitor and continue to do. So, as of today, majority of the lots have been sold, will not have a house built on. They'll maybe get a garage built on or be green space. I do know those sold last time, they will probably be housing lots, and some will be as well. It'll be a process I think we just keep an eye on. I think the commission's done a very, land bank was also, the combination has done a good job with it. I do want to introduce Haley Carpenter. Haley is our deputy city clerk. When Tammy became city clerk, we hired Haley. Haley will be at the meeting next week because both the city clerk and the finance director will be representing the city at the Midwest Public Risks Conference in Missouri. We go to once a year, and we get our insurance through NPR. So Haley will have to step up for a meeting and be the deputy city clerk, the acting city clerk at the next meeting, so.
Great. Welcome aboard.
Haley moved here. Her husband is a Army soldier, former Marine turned Army. I couldn't even figure that out yet, so.
We'll forgive him for that.
Or he saw the light, they always say he saw the light of day, so glad to have Haley on our team.
Thank you. Mr. Stites?
I have nothing.
Chief Breesy? Chief Johnson? Nothing, sir. Let's see, Mr. Ibarra? Nothing, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Osborne? Mr. Peterson? Who else? Head's gone. Mr. Youngers? Nothing. Mr. Gurman?
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Miller?
Nothing, sir.
Milton?
Nothing.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're out.